Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Venus making a square opposition or inconjunct aspect to one's natal Neptune. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Venus, this could be about love, enjoyment, money, possessions, resources, values, self-worth, self-esteem, and how you feel about yourself. Now, when the transit of Venus is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune, I want to elaborate. When I say basically adverse aspect, what it is that, of course, the square and opposition aspects are adverse. So the inconjunct is seen as neutral, but an inconjunct can require adjustments, and adjustments can have some tension. They can be a little exasperating. So all in all, this is basically an adverse aspect that I'm talking about collectively with the square opposition and inconjunct. Now, the thing about this is when you have the transit of Venus, again, basically making an adverse aspect in the natal Neptune, it can manifest in love, your enjoyment, money, resources, possessions, your values, your self-worth, and self-esteem. How you feel about yourself may conflict with your dreams, and maybe for some reason, if you're just feeling down on yourself at this time, trying to pursue your dreams and what you fantasize about, your ideals, might be a little more difficult at this time than usual, or maybe you don't put as much value in them as you ordinarily would. And I mean, Neptune is also, I'm sorry, Venus is being connected with money. It might also be that there might be something on a financial level, monetary level, that might be restricting you from pursuing uh, those things at this time. Say if Neptune is in natal Neptune is in Sagittarius, it might be something sports related. Like, I mean, I've seen things on TV in the past for mere mortals, what I call them, people that really don't have even much athletic ability, have an opportunity to kind of get on the field with a baseball team, and something like that as an example. Uh, and just play, have, go to like a camp with them or something for a day or whatever it might be. You might want to research that further. But anyway, the thing is, too, another way that this transit may manifest, it could also be that money situations, perhaps it may conflict with your sleep at this time and your relaxation. And it might be harder time taking it easy now than ordinarily, or it could be that at this time you know, um, remember that Venus is about money. Neptune can be deceptive and duplicitous. There might be a greater propensity for some theft at this time or being bamboozled. And Neptune energy is like not really seeing the details that clearly. So if you're involved in some monetary situation, there's a money making plan, or you feel like you formulated some plan to make some money. Make sure that you're an investment. Just make sure you're seeing all the fine print in it at this time. Now, Neptune is also about dissolving and dissipation. Now, if there's some kind of, financial, situation you're trying to end, or it's trying to culminate, it might be harder to dissolve it at this time. It could be something where you may wait till the transit is complete. The transit does not These transits don't last for a prolonged or protracted period of time. You do get a number of them during the year because Venus does move fairly quickly. Not as fast as the moon, of course, but it does move relatively quickly. And it could also be, I mean, when you look at Neptune is also about self-sacrificing, and just make sure you're not, losing too much money as a result of self-sacrificing or being bamboozled with, as far as possessions and your resources go, people trying to take advantage of you, claiming, to be maybe in a worse monetary situation than they are, just to scheme and, basically perpetrate a fraud in order to get, more money from you, as an example. This could be something too. I mean, Neptune is connected with isolation and seclusion. So it might be a time where, it's maybe harder to enjoy those things at this time. It could be a relationship, and whether it's a romantic one or a significant friendship might be conflicting with this at this time. Maybe their needs are taking precedence, and it's causing an issue for you to have your relaxation, your meditation, your time by yourself in isolation. Uh, Again, going back to Neptune, not being able, to see the details, the fine print with Neptune energy. Neptune energy could be very nebulous and unclear and obscure, to say the least. So again, going back to things of a monetary nature, your possessions, these are things where you want to, make sure you're seeing all the fine print, making sure, that you're getting, your money's worth on something. If you're buying an item, that it's not, maybe a replica of the, the real thing, and it's not like you say you're buying a shirt from a, supposedly a famous, brand, and make sure that it's not just some copy, from, some generic brand that's just, impersonating, what the famous brand basically. Now, anatomically speaking, Neptune is connected with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic and immune system. It can be general weakness and lethargy, and it's also associated with body fat. So this could be a time to be guard against overindulgence with food, which might contribute to excessive body fat at this time. Um, you know, if the transit Venus is in Gemini, could be manifold, food, variety of foods at this time. If transit Venus is in the zodiac sign Cancer, it could be some kind of nostalgic food, or mom's home cooking, something that was very traditional from yesteryear that you might be enjoying and indulging in too much. Uh, Another thing too is that Neptune is also connected. I mean, going back to the fact that Neptune is associated with deception and duplicity. Again, be very guard. Reiterate what I said before. Be very guarded and careful regarding financial, arrangements with somebody or something, or some kind of investment that you may be making. Things might seem better than they actually are at this time, from a financial perspective. And Neptune is also about imprisonment. It could be, imprisoning yourself, or it could be literal imprisonment. It might be a situation if you have, like, some friend or somebody, like say you have, your natal Neptune in your 11th house of friendships. It could be a situation like if you're trying to get this person money and they're in prison, you know, um, put money on their card or whatever it might be. It might be harder to get the funds in order to do this. Or if you're trying to pay for bail or bond money for somebody that's incarcerated, there might be more difficulty in doing so at this time, more so than usual. Now, another way that this transit may manifest, it might be not loving, so to speak, forgiveness and surrendering. It might be a time where you just don't necessarily feel like giving in, so to speak. If you're in a situation where you have potential to forgive, or be the better man or woman or what have you. Say, for example, if the natal Neptune is in Scorpio in the fifth house, it could be giving in, maybe to a vengeful or vindictive or even jealous, uh, controlling lover at this time. It could be a situation. I mean, this is also the way, another way this transit may manifest. This could be hard to ascertain the value, or I'm sorry, I should say harder to value. Venus could be connected to what we value, your imagination at this time. Things could of a speculative nature. Say, for example, if the natal Neptune is in Sagittarius in the fifth house, as an example, it could be playing some kind of simulated or hypothetical, which is Neptune, sports, which is Sagittarius, and games, which is the fifth house. If you're a sports fanatic and you have this placement, you've got this transit going on, and you might be somebody that's involved with those hypothetical matchups from yesteryear, like say playing the 1975 Reds against the 1927 New York Yankees, as an example. Now, another thing too is that your relationships, whether they might be romantic ones, it might be a significant other, maybe significant friendships, might be conflicting and challenging your dreams at this time, and what you're fantasizing about. And say, for example, if your natal Neptune is in Capricorn in the fourth house and you're experiencing this transit, perhaps it could be success or gaining structure, which is Capricorn, in your home life at this time. Um, it could be also, you might be experiencing, if you have any issues with the lower back, with the kidneys, with the throat, the neck, the thyroid, it might be more of a challenge to trying to sleep and relax, and even doing things connected with meditation at this time. Um, if you have, it could also be trying to get money. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Could also be a time where it could be another way this may manifest. Maybe it's harder to get the money for the less fortunate at this time, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless, the hungry. If you're somebody that's involved in that, and you're somebody that's very philanthropic or benevolent or what have you, it could be a greater, again, reiterating what I said before, could be greater propensity for some kind of financial loss due to fraud or deception. And it might be harder to ascertain the value because Venus is connected, with the values and money. Things of a Neptunian nature, say, for example, if you have like an old chemistry lab that you're, trying to sell, might be like, you might see it almost like an antique, or something with photographs or a camera or videos, VHS tapes. It might be harder to ascertain the value of it more so than usual at this time. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.